In this video, we are going to go through 4 different drawing techniques, and I'm going to show you step by step how to do these drawing techniques. I've chosen as my subject matter something that's connected with my identity from my mood board and my mind map, which is a boxing glove. Now, I love kickboxing and combat sports, so I've chosen to use something that represents me and things that I like, and I'm going to use this as a subject matter to practice my drawing skills. I've also done the same thing for self-portraits, but I realise that some of you may not wish to go down the self-portraits route. You may prefer to choose an object to test out your drawing skills. That's your choice. That's absolutely fine. I would encourage you to do something that you feel represents your identity, that's taken as inspiration from your mood board and your mind map, and to choose something that's meaningful to you. So the first of the 4 techniques is going to be pencil skills. Now, in your first project, yes, you did some pencil drawing and you did the swatches with the different grades of pencils, which is great. Now I want you to go a little bit deeper into the different actual physical techniques of drawing with pencils. So I've got my graded pencil set here, and as you can see, I've got a number of different softness or weights of pencils. And for sketching the outline of the object, which is what I'm going to do first, I'm going to use a nice soft pencil. So I'm going to use a pencil that's quite high up, a higher number in the B category. This 4B is a nice chunky one, but it's kind of a strange shape. This is an 8B, which is a really nice soft one, so I'll probably use that. Now I've also got my eraser at the ready. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to sketch the outline of my object. And I'm going to use my soft pencil, and I'm going to keep my hand really loose. So I'm not doing this and pressing down hard. I'm keeping the pencil quite loose in my hand, and I'm going to try and keep my hand moving as much as possible. I'm not trying to get it perfect. I'm trying to see how I'm holding it almost by the end there. I'm trying to just get a sense roughly of the object. So another thing that I'm doing is I'm keeping my eye on the object. I'm not leaning over my drawing, and I'm not just looking at my drawing while I'm doing it. I'm keeping my observation really, really focused on the object. You should be looking at the object more than at your drawing. Of course, you need to look at your drawing, but you really need to strengthen those observation skills by continually checking back to your object to make sure that you are observing it in detail. So there's my sketched outline. Now, the next step is to shade the areas of light and dark. So again, I'm going to use a really nice soft pencil, but this time, instead of using the end, I'm actually going to use the edge of the pencil. You can use one of those solid graphite pencils maybe, and I'm just going to use that to, not even to draw, I'm just using it, just shading the areas of light and dark. So it might be helpful for you to almost blur your vision a little bit. Rather than thinking about getting lines, you're just trying to represent the areas of light and dark. I'm not worrying about getting it exactly right. I'm just thinking about blocking out those areas of light and dark. If I'm not happy with something that I've done, I can just go back into it with the rubber. So don't worry too much. I want you to get into a nice, relaxed way of drawing where you're not holding your pencil too tight. You're looking at your object a lot. You're not afraid of making mistakes, and you're trying out different hand movements as well. You can use the edge of your pencil. You can use the broad surface. And then you can also use the tip for when you want to do more defined lines. But right now, I'm just blocking out those rough areas of light and dark. And you can see how that's starting to look a bit more like the object, which is great. The next thing I want to show you is adding in some heavy lines. So I am going to start holding my pencil more towards the end, like I would if I was writing, and my grip is going to be a little bit tighter. So I've still got that really nice soft graphite pencil, and I'm going to start defining actually those lines a bit more clearly. So those areas of light and dark are actually helping me to do that. Again, you're going to be putting these heavy lines in, and then if you feel like you've made a mistake, you're going to be quite reluctant to go and change it, but you can, okay? It's your drawing. You can always go back and change something if you want to. It does not have to be perfect. It will not be perfect first time round. So you see how I'm kind of following the contour of the thing? I'm keeping my hand moving, but then when I'm sure about a line, I'm putting it in nice and bold. And I'm not just doing outlines of the object, I'm looking at strong lines within the object as well. So what I don't want to end up with is a drawing with really strong outlines. I want those strong lines to be inside the drawing as well. And remember, I'm always going back to observing the object. This is observational drawing, and we're looking at advancing our pencil skills now. We're looking at going beyond those basic pencil drawing skills to something a bit more technical, a bit more sophisticated. We're slowing down the techniques a little bit and really making sure that we understand what the different marks and the different ways of using your pencils can do for your drawing. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is cross-hatching. You may be familiar with this from your previous drawing and your previous project, but we'll go over that again. So I'm going to use a harder pencil this time. This one's a 6H, and I'm going to find some of those areas where there's a kind of a darker area here, for example, and I'm going to start doing lots of directional lines like this. You see how I'm doing quite confident, strong, straight-ish lines, and then I'll go the other way. So I'll try and cross them at a 90-degree angle like that. And then the areas where I can see there's a bit more light, I'm going to kind of keep those out of the cross-hatching area. I can always go back into it with my eraser if I want to. Yeah, and there's some light reflected there, so I want to make sure that I keep that. And as you see, as I'm going, I'm kind of mixing all of these techniques on the page as well. It's not just like, oh, here's one technique, that's what I've used. I'm combining them to create an overall effect, and I'm kind of blending in some of that cross-hatching to the stronger pencil work I was doing there. Now I'm going in with a softer pencil. I'm doing a bit more cross-hatching, a little line work as well. And always, always looking back at the object as I go along. I've just realized that that outline comes more out to there. No worries at all, I'm just going to fix that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is smudging. Some of you may have used a blending stub before. So if you have one, great. If you don't, no worries. You can use your finger. Just be aware that your fingers are going to get a bit messy. And you can see there that in using the blending stub or my finger, I'm now softening up some of those lines. And then also some of the graphite from the pencil stays on the blending stub. So I can almost use it to kind of draw in some of the tone and some of the texture as well. You can experiment as well while you're working. It doesn't have to be like, oh, this has to be here and this has to be there. You can experiment, see what looks good, see what feels good to do as you draw, see things that don't work. You may wish to use your eraser, create light areas and go back into your drawing like that, fix some mistakes. Make some of those contours and those outlines a bit more defined, a bit more specific, less sketchy. And I'm always looking back to the object and I'm always fixing and changing as I go. And then once I've got all of those techniques that I've just shown you step by step, I can start mixing and matching as I'm drawing. I'm doing a bit of cross-hatching, I'm doing a bit of blocking light and shade, I'm turning my pencil on its edge and I'm doing some line work there. I'm going back to my blending stub and I'm using that to create areas of light and dark and texture as well. And I'm using my eraser to redefine some of those edges and put in areas of light and dark. So you can start to see the texture of the leather coming through there with the light reflecting off it. So there you have it. Pencil skills, but in a bit more detail. You don't have to do all of those in one drawing. You don't have to do them in that order, in that exact way. I just want you to try those things out, experiment with them, spend time with them, and make sure that you always come back to observation, which is the most important thing here with pencil drawing. And observational drawing is looking and observing and noticing and taking your time to do that. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make a bad drawing. You can always do another one. You can always go back and fix it or change it. So there you have it. I want you to spend some time doing concentrated, focused, technical observational drawing with various different pencil weights, an eraser, blending stub, or your finger.